There are a lot of different choices that you can make in Dying Light 2. Many of them don't really lead to major outcomes that affect the course of the game. Maybe a mission's done a little differently, or you get different dialogue, but there are a few that do decide how the game will end. Unfortunately, these decisions are often binary. If you choose one, you can't see the other, and that can take 40, 50, maybe even 60 hours to reach the ending. One of the most asked questions I've got since I started covering Dying Light 2 is which faction is the better one? The Peacekeepers, who are trying to keep peace in this lawless wasteland, or the Survivors, who are trying to eke out a living? Now, many of you don't know there's also a third secret option of siding with the Renegades, but we'll get to that in a second. The purpose of this video is to help clear the air and explain once and for all that objectively, if you're looking at the game endings that allow the most people to live with the happiest lives according to the endings, picking Survivors is the best choice. This doesn't mean you have to pick the Bazaar over the Peacekeepers. Actually, the decisions you make in the first act have little to no bearing on the rest of the game. All of this comes down to one, maybe two major decisions that you make in the game. The first one, who you give the communications tower to in the mission broadcast. Jack Matt wants you to take it over so he can start filling the city with Peacekeeper propaganda. At the last second, Frank, one of the former Night Runners and essentially the figurehead of the Survivors in the game, wants you to give the tower to him so that he can start his essentially new free radio station. This becomes exceptionally important for later in the game when missiles are fired into the city. If Frank doesn't have that radio tower, he can't warn and save the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people. The other key decision that you have to make is whether or not you save Frank's life. Obviously, if you want the Survivors ending, Frank needs to be alive. If you make any choice that indicates you're not doing everything you can to protect Frank and the Survivors, there's a very, very good chance he's going to die. That includes giving the radio tower to anyone else but Frank. So if you are searching for that ultimate best ending, anytime that Frank asks you to do anything, you do it. Anytime Lawan asks you to do anything, you do it. Essentially, anything that supports the idea of Survivors really having control of the city and not peacekeeping forces will push you in the right direction. Now, let's say you've played the first act and you've decided you want to go with the Survivors and Frank, but in Old Villador, you made it so the Bazaar was destroyed because you really liked Ator and you allowed the Peacekeepers to be in control. Or maybe vice versa. You, for some reason, decided Sophie was the one to trust. They essentially killed everyone there, and now you want to shift into the peacekeeping force. Fortunately, that decision doesn't really affect the outcome of supporting either of these factions. In fact, there's an argument to be made that if you are going for the best outcome for the Peacekeepers, what you should do is allow Sophie to take control of the Bazaar so that the Bazaar actually survives in the end game while you still support Jack Matt and the Peacekeepers for the rest of the game. Now, I mentioned off the top, there is a third option, the Renegade Ending. This option is when you follow Juan and do essentially everything he says, and every turn, all of his side missions, everything of that nature. You get an ending that is a little strange. The Peacekeepers turn into this renegade force that takes over the city and kind of rains hell upon anyone that is still alive. Obviously, if you want a good ending, you can't support the Lawan ending where you make a choice to blow up the city. If you do that, that precludes any other options that there are. But if you were wondering, you're playing the game, you've done the first chapter, and you're wondering, which ending works for me, objectively, I think it's really hard to argue this. The Survivor ending, where you do everything, where Hakan is still alive, where Lawan is still alive, where you work together and finish some key side quests, is objectively the best ending. I would even argue that there's a possibility that the Peacekeeper ending in its truest form might be one of the worst, but don't take my word for it. I don't want you to play 60 hours and get an outcome you don't want. There's some different permutations, obviously, with choices made, but here now, if you don't want to see it, please turn off the video, but here are the three major outcomes for the factions in Dying Light 2 based on the choices that you made. And I should say, just as we end here, it doesn't matter at all which area that you give to whom. That doesn't affect anything in terms of the Survivor versus Peacekeeper rewards you get, but it does absolutely matter who you give that radio tower to at that key juncture in the broadcast mission, and that you save Frank's life if you do want an outcome that I think is the best. So please enjoy, and if you disagree, please, I love to hear it, because it does upset me, and I feel bad for the people that are saying, I can't wait to go with the Peacekeepers. This seems like a great decision. You know, of course I don't want to support Sophie. Well, bad news.
Take heed and bear witness, for this is the news of the last city standing. 6 people died last night because of growing problems with the water supply. Illegal trade, price gouging, or theft of potable water will be punished by death of the suspect and their entire family.
Peacekeepers are the guarantee of prosperity and safety.
Yeah, I'd like to feel some of that legendary prosperity in my pocket. What's your poison?
Beer, but only if it's not flat. Not bad. A package from Baines. For Jack Matt.
You're too late. Jack is dead. Maya runs the city now. At least until somebody stabs her in the back.
Take heed and bear witness, for this is the news of the last city standing. 40 people died last night. 20 of them got trampled in a stampede in the food ration queue. Remember, citizens, everyone will get his allotted portion of food and water. Juan Raynor and the new bright Peacekeepers have your health and interests at heart.
Juan Raynor guarantees truth and justice for everyone.
Yeah, unless you're overheard saying Jack's name out loud. Then you get a bullet in the head. Thank you very much. What's your poison?
Beer, but only if it's not flat. Not bad. A package from Baines. For Juan Raynor.
Oh, it's not so easy to reach him in his gilded cage. After the last food shortage protests, he locked himself away, shitting his pants due to the threat of mutiny. The soldiers are killing you and got near 5 kilometers to the ship. Whatever he's up to, he's got a lot of good whiskey with him.
Take heed and bear witness, for this is the news of the last city standing. A soup kitchen for the poorest citizens has been established in the city center. Farmers are asked to donate any unsold produce. We have survived another night, but many of our loved ones weren't so lucky. Be mindful and help those in need. We are one community.
Long live the free city of Villador.
Yeah, until we wake up from this beautiful dream and fuck everything up again. What's your poison?
Beer, but only if it's not flat. Not bad. A package from Baines. For Jack Matt.
You're too late. Jack is dead. Maya runs the city now. At least until somebody stabs her in the back.